This video is going to go out to AnimeFreek8188, and I hope my students are listening. Listen to this. I will not be lectured by a lonely grown man. Do you know that if I disrespected my elders the same way as this kid is disrespecting me, I would have been slapped silly? How many of you who are out there would have been slapped silly for disrespecting your elders in this manner? I bet you quite a few. If this kid doesn't like me, he doesn't even have to write to me at all. This to me is arrogance, and I hope you guys all see the arrogance of this statement. But it gets better. I'm still considered a child, and I even know more about opinions and facts. Okay, let's draw this picture in preschool terms. Here is a kid. He is not 18 yet. He has not graduated from high school yet. And he is telling a person, myself, who has a high school diploma, a technical institute degree, has gone to college, has presented over 2,500 educational videos, that he is smarter than me. Do you see a problem with that? It doesn't take a genius in calculus to figure this out. That's a problem. Okay? You cannot claim that what Jeff Bliss did is wrong. Oh yes, I can. Let's go through the facts. I have watched interviews of Jeff Bliss. I am very well informed of what really went on in that classroom. Jeff Bliss is an 18-year-old sophomore in high school. He dropped out of school. He found out how tough it was on the streets. He was facing starvation and eviction, so he went back to school in an attempt to get his education so that he could find gainful employment, because they weren't going to employ him at the rate they were going. And so he was told 2 days in advance that he was going to have to take this test. On the day of the test, he decides to throw a tirade to try to get out of taking a test. Those are the facts. So this statement is totally wrong. Okay? Now, let me show you the consequences of what he did. Now, his peers are going to have to work a lot harder to try to convince their teacher that these packets are not working in the classroom. They're going to have to get statistical analysis. They're going to have to do research in packets. They're going to have to rely on people like me to go after this teacher and tell her these packets aren't working and this is the real reason why. Furthermore, they have caused teachers now to be afraid of their students. They're already afraid of their students because of weapons being brought in the classroom, because of sexual harassment, and now they're afraid of a kid throwing a tirade in their classroom. When teachers become afraid of their students, they stop teaching. And what's the consequence of that? Well, Herbert George Wells knew this. He wrote a book called The Time Machine. I hope you read it, because our society is turning from an industrialized society to an intellectual society. In other words, if you're not smart, you don't get a job. It's that way. Most employers will make their employees or potential employees apply for jobs on the internet. Why? Because you have to have verbal skills, analytical skills, and you have to know how to work a computer. Almost every job that you work on now requires computer knowledge. That's a fact. You can go check it out for yourself. So now, our society is becoming more and more like the Eloi, and that's not a good thing. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I discussed this in an 11-part presentation entitled For My Students. I had 2 addendums after that. And I discussed every single thing I was talking about. Now, the thing is that employers, potential employers, read comments like this, whether you want to believe it or not. And when they see stuff like this, which is disrespect to elders and utter foolishness, what they say is, this is not a good candidate for hiring. We need not to hire these people. If you don't believe they're doing this, you better do your research, because I'm telling you, they are. And if you don't want to face eviction and starvation, you will listen to me. But hey, that's your consequence, not mine. I still got a job. What about you? Okay? Let's go on here. You have not had a personal conversation with him, referring to Jeff Bliss, nor been through what he did. Okay? I didn't have to have a personal conversation with him. I watched his interviews, and I was able to assess a lot of data just from that. Furthermore, I have been to a rural school, a city school where I got a technical institute degree. I have also been to a college. 3 different teaching environments. That's far more than what Jeff Bliss can claim. Now think about this. Jeff Bliss is an 18-year-old sophomore. He threw a tirade to get out of a test. This kid is a dropout. Do you really want people to be tutored by this kid? Could he effectively teach people how to read, write, or do arithmetic? Absolutely not. And his grades prove it. He is not qualified to teach anyone anything. And he dropped an honor challenge on a teacher. I'll tell you, if I'd have done the same thing when I was a kid, that teacher would have just totally humiliated me, then would have kicked me out, and I'd be in some real financial trouble afterwards. I'd have learned my lesson. Okay. Which in this case is standing up for himself and his classmates. He did not stand up for himself. He did not stand up for his classmates. He's actually made life worse for them because they're going to have a much harder time convincing anybody that those packets aren't working. He's made the situation worse, not better. And I explained all this. But apparently I'm going to have to explain it again. And I'm apparently going to have to explain it again. Explain it again. You do not know me and I do not know you. I don't know you, but you can know me. I have so many videos up here that you could learn quite a bit about me. So the fact that you don't know me is your fault. You can know me if you want. If you want to continue this conversation, we'll get to know each other quite well. I do know one thing about you. You're not out of high school yet. Wait till you get out. Get out in the real world. Then you'll see what I'm talking about. I do not care for what you have to say to me. Well, you don't now, but when you have to go in those bread lines, when you have to go to those homeless shelters, I guess you will then. Or what you want to teach me. Well, fine. I got 630 other students I want to teach. No problem there. Which is 100% useless to me. You say that now, but wait until you try to get a job. Then we'll see how useless I am. You're stubborn. Well, so are you. What's your point? I also have more that I want to say. I'm sorry to hear that. The fact that you think you are smarter than everyone. I never said I was smarter than everybody. I'm not smarter than Stephen Hawking. Okay? There are a lot of people out there that are smarter than me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a smart person. And it doesn't mean... The thing is, I'm smarter than you, and I have the proof for this. I have shown you how much smarter I am than you are. Doesn't matter if I'm smarter than Stephen Hawking. It only matters that I'm smarter than you. That's the difference. Shows how much less of a teacher you are. My job as a teacher is to motivate you to learn. And what better motivation than to say to you that if you don't learn all the things I'm teaching you, you're going to find yourself on the unemployment lines, you're going to find yourself in a homeless shelter and starving. What better motivation do you need than that? That makes me an effective teacher. As a teacher, you try to help others if they don't proofread or spell right. That is if they decide they want to learn. That's the difference. A lot of these people have to be motivated to do this. They don't want to learn. I'll tell you what, I'm probably one of the laziest people you've ever met in your life. It was really hard to get my teachers to motivate me, but they finally found a way to do it. They gave me a dose of reality and I started learning. And that's exactly what I'm doing with these people. You don't call them stupid or say that they won't get a job because of it. Well, I actually have never really called anybody stupid. But what better motivation to get people to improve their verbal and analytical skills than to tell them, hey, if you don't, you won't get a job. Like I said before, employers force you to apply on the internet for the jobs because they want to see if you can work a computer, if you have good analytical skills, and if you have good verbal skills. If you don't, they don't hire you anymore. It's that simple. It's their decision to say or do what they want. Oh, absolutely. It's also my decision not to feed them when they get on the bread lines. It is within my mutual benefit and theirs that I teach on YouTube. Theirs because they don't want to starve to death. Mine is because I don't want to feed them on a regular basis. Give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach him how to fish and he eats for a lifetime. I don't want him coming on my doorstep day after day begging for bread. That creates a financial hardship on me and it creates an embarrassment for them. So it's in our mutual interest that we get them educated and quickly. So you're wrong there. If you do not like it, you do not have to bash them acting as if they have nothing coming up for them in life. And that's just the whole thing. They don't. They're not going to get jobs anymore, and I've clearly illustrated why. You, sir, are very cocky. No, you are very cocky and underinformed. You do not know more. Yes, I do. Because I have met these people. I have worked with these people. So I do know more than you. The fact of the matter is you are very underinformed and you had no right doing what you just did. And employers that read this are going to tell you the same thing. But I guess the only way you're going to learn is to actually hit the unemployment lines and find yourself at a homeless shelter. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully I won't have to make any more of these presentations. They're getting old. My students listen to me and listen to me well. If you don't learn what I'm telling you, you're going to end up on the unemployment lines and you're going to end up in the homeless shelters. That's a fact. I don't like it any more than you do, but it's a fact that we're all going to have to start living with. Hopefully you guys have gotten the point. I hope I don't have to make the point over and over and over again. I may have to, I don't know. But I'd like to go on with my education and stop this. Alright. If I didn't care about you people, I wouldn't do this. But I do care. That's why I made the 11-part presentation. I made that 11-part presentation to show even my own employers that I actually care, and they've often misinterpreted me. And hopefully they'll see this again. Alright, that's enough for now. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.